Good morning, everyone. Bill and Carrie here with KB Treks.
Good morning.
Where are we at, huh? What are we doing here?
We are in St. Paul, Minnesota. We are at the Minnesota History Center. We are about ready to check out the Sherlock exhibit they have going on right now.
As we walk in, over here's the box office where we pay. There's also a museum store and a second museum store. And there's an auditorium to go to, but we have to go up to the third floor for the exhibits. As we're walking in from the lobby to go see the Sherlock Holmes exhibit, one of the things that you see here on the main level is this vehicle. This was actually used in the second Sherlock Holmes movie starring Robert Downey Jr., Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. So they actually made this for the movie to make it look like it came out of that time period, and they had no use for it after the movie, so they donated it to the exhibit. But Robert Downey Jr. drove this in the movie. Alright, so here's the Sherlock Holmes exhibit. We're going to go in and we're going to learn all about not just Sherlock Holmes, but the writer who invented him. Just so I feel better. Photography encouraged. As we walk in, we can see a couple quotes that Sherlock is known for. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. I always like this one: when you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Crime is common, logic is rare, and of course, the game is afoot. Alright, what did we get as we walk in here?
We have a mystery to solve.
Okay.
We got our little notebook.
It's a handy dandy notebook.
Yep, and we have to collect stamps, and then stamps will help us decode a message, and then we get to hopefully solve the mystery.
So this is a photo of Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock, and where he got his inspiration is he was a medical student in Edinburgh, in England, the University of Edinburgh, and he just got fascinated with science and what is now considered forensics, and so that's kind of the beginning of the whole thing. The first room we enter here is his history about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who is the author, creator of Sherlock. So in here is a little bit of history about him and a couple of documents from his early works with Sherlock. And in here is a study in Scarlet. So this is the first novel, a copy of it. So kind of reading a little bit more about this. So Study Scarlet, this is where Sherlock made his debut in the writing. This is the first copy, so the very first copy to the knowledge. There's only 11 complete copies known to exist remaining in the world. So this is one of them. And this was printed in 1887. Next to it, this is The Hounds of Bakersville. This is another novel with Sherlock in it, and now it's considered as one of the most popular novels of all time, and the original printing was in 1902. In this display, this is Dr. Joseph Bell, one of Conan Doyle's professors, teachers at Edinburgh Medical School. And he's the main inspiration for Sherlock. So the character Sherlock is mostly based on him because apparently the doctor here had just a uncanny ability for observation and learning about people just from looking at the way how their people's shoes are worn or their clothes are worn, to learn more about people, which is again the inspiration for Sherlock. This is a portrait of Sir Henry Littlejohn, who was another inspiration for Sherlock. So the other gentleman was observation. Littlejohn here was inspiration for Sherlock Holmes' Encyclopedia of Knowledge when it comes to forensics. And so he was another professor at the university that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle went to school with. As we walk into the next area here, this is going to be the train station. What's up here in the train station?
This is where we get our stamps.
Okay, and we learn a little bit about early forensics and everything, right?
Sure.
What is forensic science? We're going to visit each stop around this train station and learn about the scientific breakthroughs in the 1800s. One of the first things we're going to learn about as we walk in is about photography, because photography was brand new. And here's one of the types of cameras that would use. But the beautiful thing with photography is it takes images right then and there. We take this for granted now of like how the scene looked or evidence looked in that moment, and we don't have to worry about things getting moved around because they took a photo right away. One of the places we're going to visit is the cosmetics counter. I made myself laugh with that joke. Anyway, so what do we learn about cosmetics and how it relates to forensics?
We learned that they have lots of poisons in them back in the day. So we got our stamp, which is a skull and crossbones, because you have to be very careful about things that are in your cosmetics, or at least you did.
After we get all learned at each station, we can get our stamp. We just learned about telegraphs and how they can help.
Stamp.
Stamp. This station is interesting. It's talking about how you can use lenses like magnifying glasses or microscopes to look at evidence really up close. And so like they have a couple microscopes as examples. Like here you can see different types of earth, so you know, sand or clay, and you can see up close. So it might look like, like sand might look like clay, but when you look up close in the microscope you can see the difference. Ballistics, this is one of those things that I'm very familiar with. If you watch like CSI, whatever, nothing's really changed with things like ballistics, because it has to do with trajectory and if like a bullet, how it reacts when it hits something, or it curves by going through the air. And here you can learn about that by using like these laser pointers, something they didn't have way back when. But then you can see how you know, how a bullet curves or whatever. Now we're gonna practice something here. It's from the notebook they gave us. We're gonna do a rubbing, and then from that we can find some clues. For the setup here, there's like a hidden message in the newspaper. And so that's how we're using that to try to find the secret message. All right, we did our research and found about some clues, and now we're gonna leave the train station and go to Baker Street.
Yes.
What's
we're going
Baker
to
Street?
221 Baker Street.
Which is the home of
Sherlock Holmes.
All right, we're in Sherlock Holmes' home. What are we doing in here?
We are searching for certain articles.
Okay, and
here's our list.
We're trying to look for what they have on the list here. This is supposed to check our observations.
Yes.
Our deduction, not deduction, it's our skills of observation. So this is Sherlock's main room or study. I'm not exactly sure, but this is supposed to be his house in here. And so we're just looking for the clues that are on the list. And a couple things that are interesting in here too is it's supposed to be true to the books in a sense. So like Sherlock in the books, he would do things where he would take a knife and stab it into important letters on the, I forget what that's called, over the fireplace. So that was like his filing system. And we're going to the next room here. This is the scene of the crime. So in here we're going to look at different things. We're going to look at the scene of the crime and observe, and then we're going to go through evidence and try to figure out who the murderer was.
Police arrived to find chaos. Pizarro, gravely injured with a gruesome head wound, was dazed and incoherent.
So over here is a recording from Sherlock setting up the scene and some of his observations as a starting point for our investigation. Up first is some information from data telling us what we know and what the police think. So it's up to us to figure this out. All right, so this is supposed to be the scene of the crime based off the evidence that Sherlock kind of started off with as a starting points. We're going to look over here to see what we can find. So to help us, they have provided these rubbings. So then we can use our notebook, our handy dandy notebook, to try to then check to see what things match up with. So that's a seed pod. And this other rubbing is the blood spatter that was on the wall. So that's a rubbing of that, or what it looks like. You know, this is the slaughterhouse where they're going to emulate different blood splatters so that we can figure out which one most accurately matches the crime scene. Go ahead and pull that, hun. Ooh, this is fun. How very steampunk. There's got to be a second option. Okay. Interesting. I like how these are self-cleaning for the next person. Just a windshield wiper comes up. This is the third option. All right, now we're in the conservatory, and in here we're looking for what?
We're checking them to match the seed pod.
The seed pod that was found at the scene.
Yes.
First we have to figure out which seed pod here was found in the room, right?
Correct.
And then what do we do over here, this experiment over here?
So that was to see if there was a toxin added to the seed pod. So first is the seed pod toxic, or is there a toxin added, or neither?
All right, this next area we're gonna check out possibly ballistics to see what happened, because in the room there's a statue, and so we're gonna do a couple experiments to figure out how what now?
Well, this one is to see did the bullet shatter the bust.
So how does this work? You're gonna crank it?
Crank it and see it completely destroyed it.
Or not. So that's how. That's if a bullet hit the statue or if it fell. Next over here we're going to test drag marks. Give it a pull there, hon. Let's see what this looks like if it matches.
This is heavy.
It's heavy. And over here we can check to see if the shoe prints match the drag marks. Give it a pull, hon. All right, did we get all of our clues?
We got all of our clues.
And so we write it down to decode a message.
Yes.
And part of the fun here is you guys come and get to do this on your own. So.
We're not going to give you the answers.
No way. Let's roll. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is this the foot that's a game? What? And over here is where we're going to find out if our information was correct to go to the final stage to see if we encoded everything correctly. So what do you think about the case that we had to decode and everything?
Yeah, it was very neat. We were able to decode the clues. The case itself, there was a lot more added details to it that I...
Not what I was expecting.
Yeah. So I figured out part of it. I mean, I had my thoughts from the very beginning, and I'm glad to know I was correct in those.
Okay.
But not sharing.
Sure, whatever you say, honey. In the last area here as we head out, it is collections of just memorabilia and things throughout the years, because Sherlock Holmes is one of the most recognized and reused for storytelling purposes things throughout the world. So they've told Sherlock throughout so many different things. I mean, they have so many different movies. Of course, a lot of people these days know the Robert Downey Jr. movies, but also Elementary's based off of Sherlock, and Sherlock series. Some other memorabilia, such as these are steins, are mugs. There's Woodstock, like the Pink Panther is kind of based. There's the Sherlock tie-in with that. Batman, of course, he's a detective. And to tie it more locally, like, it's just Sherlock was the beginning of forensic science, or, into pop culture type things. So, like, here, more tied into Minnesota, the BCA, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, where they do forensic research here in Minnesota. In this case, they have props from the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., so you might recognize some of these from the movie, like there's a cattle prod from one fight scene, I remember, and pipes and sandals. So what do you think of the Sherlock exhibit?
That was actually a lot of fun. I mean, besides getting the history aspect of it and kind of learning some more about the author and also the character, the crime scene at the end was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
So we spent about an hour and a half in there.
Yeah.
And we were entertained the whole way through, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
So one of the fascinating things about this exhibit is it might be a traveling exhibit, but it's actually originally based here in Minnesota. This is one of the largest collections, if not the largest collection, of Sherlock and
Conan Doyle.
I have trouble saying him. It's his name. Collection of his memorabilia and stuff like that. It actually started here in Minnesota from a couple of professors from the University of Minnesota who were big fans, and they had their collection, and then people donated their collections over the years. So it's not. I went to London years ago when I was in college, and I actually went to the Sherlock Holmes Museum, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It was just a couple mannequins. Oh, this is supposed to be Sherlock, and this is Moriarty. No, this is not like this. This was very immersive, and we had a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, so please do us a favor and subscribe. About 80-90% of our viewers are not subscribers, so please help us flip that number and also help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. But we had a good time.
Yeah, great time.
Do it again?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What are the details on this?
So this is actually part of your Minnesota History Center admission. It's $12 for an adult. The event is running through April 5th, I believe. So you got a couple of months, well, a few months to get
Depending
here
on when you watch this.
and enjoy it. Yes.
So thanks for joining us. I'm Bill.
I'm Carrie.
You watch KB Tricks. Do us a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Help the channel grow, and we will see you next time. Until then, good luck and have fun.
See ya.